So can you take a human being and get them to be authentic over and over and over, to have clarity and confidence over and over, to put them in situations where they know where they stand, and you're reminding them, the important thing here is not that you get the results, it's that you know where you stand, because if you do, you're going to have brilliant experiences and results. What if we actually do that? Train their nervous system. What happens at the end of, say, 3 days of training someone's nervous system like that? Like, for 12 hours straight, you train their nervous system. I'll tell you what happens, because this is what we do in our workshops. You end up with somebody on Monday that automatically does those things they were trained to do. So what if you train someone to be authentic? What if you train someone to be courageous? You train someone to acknowledge their boundaries. Train someone to really listen. Train someone to ask for what they want. What you end up having is a human being that steps out on Monday and they know who they are and where they stand, they communicate powerfully, and they make a contribution. You can be trained to be a hero. And throughout history, we see that the people that had such a huge impact in our lives, people that like Martin Luther King, people like Mother Teresa, that made such a huge difference, trained themselves. They trained themselves. They refused to say the things that were meant just to please others at their expense. And they said, from now on, I'm going to practice saying the things that are actually meaningful to me, that are authentic for me. And when we hear somebody that's communicating with authenticity, it inspires us. That's why we call them heroes. Isn't that the one thing these people did? They were authentic. They knew who they were and where they stood. Now, the reasons why we don't know who we are and where we stand are complicated. But basically, it's very simple. Is we were raised by tribes. So when you were a child, and if you were to go out and do what you wanted to do, you'd probably be dead right now, because you wanted to go out and play in the street with trucks. Or you wanted to go, see what it's like to on the other side of that cliff. And our parents had to train us to survive. So what happens is when we hit that fork in the road, we were trained to survive instead of to thrive. And now we're paying the price for that, because no one ever stopped and said, okay, now that you're, say, 10 years old, you know how to survive, now let's go down the path of thriving. And we're going to train you how to thrive. And that's what our workshops and seminars are all about. Knowing what's meaningful to you, and then being trained to go out and thrive instead of just survive, instead of making more money so that no matter what happens, you can survive it. Well, there are people here that have so much money and it doesn't matter. They still die of a disease. And so frequently, disease comes and visits us when we're living inauthentically. I mean, you know what cancer looks like under a microscope? It looks like a tantrum. The cells are throwing a tantrum. Tumors are the same way. Some part of the body says, screw this, I've had it. But when we're living in alignment with what's most meaningful to us and paying attention to what's going on in our torso, doesn't mean we're not going to have challenges. Pain is inevitable. But suffering, which is the resistance to pain, is optional. We're in some painful times. The market's changing. But we don't have to suffer with that. What we can do is volunteer to be courageous. And then many of the people in this room are going to lean back, and you're going to step back and say, oh my God, I don't know if I can survive this. But some of you are going to lean forward. And you're going to say, I'm going to be the solution to this problem. I'm going to take these lemons and turn them into lemonade. And that just takes courage. And once you know who you are and where you stand, you know how to make lemonade, because you know the experience you want to have. And that's what Heart Virtues is really all about. So would you guys be willing to do something? It's like if I were to say to you, where is your life on a scale from 1 to 10? Let's do a little experiment, okay? So let's find out where we are in this pattern between the victim and the hero. So where would you say your life is on a scale from 1 to 10? Everybody get a number in mind. 10 is I'm in ecstasy, 0 is I'm in survival, okay? And so how many of you is it 5 or less? Okay, how many of you is 6, 7, or 8? Okay, and how many is it 9 or 10? Okay, everybody look around. What do you notice? What did you notice? Okay, and so here's what we notice everywhere is you're trained to live in this thing called mediocrity. Your nervous system was trained because you went to school and it was about sit down and shut up and go along to get along. So now we all live in this mediocre comfort zone of agreement. Now if you're down here, people pull you up. Your friends will say, if you said my life's a 3, for those of you that said your life was less than 5. If you tell that to your friends, they'll pull you up. But if you tell those very same people, I've got this incredible idea and I love my life and I'm going to have this incredible project, they'll actually pull you down. Won't they? So How many of you would like to have a 10? Raise your hand. Okay, good. So here's what I'd like to do for the remainder of this lecture. I want to talk to the part of you that says I'd like to have a 10, because that's your hero. It's like if you imagine yourself like a pie, there's a piece of the pie that's committed to 10. And I'll make a commitment to you right now. For everyone in this room, from now on, whether you talk to me at the end of my presentation, whether you end up having a session, whether you read the book, whether we just talk on the phone, I'm committed to talking just to the part of you that's committed to a 10. I'm going to talk to your hero, because here's what I know. Because here's what will happen. If I talk to your 10, and you listen from your 10, and you talk back from your 10, that piece of your pie is going to get bigger and bigger. And it's about making sure that you're not thinking about how to survive, but you're thinking about how could I actually turn this into an incredible experience. Just like we did at the beginning of the first writing exercise that we did. So would you guys be willing to explore 10 with me for just a second? Would you be willing to do that? It's going to take some courage. We're going to be talking about courage. Okay, everybody please stand up. Do this on 3. Feel a little nervous? I want you guys to do it at a level 10. And here's what it looks like. Here's what it looks like at a level 7. Okay? I love my life. And we're going to do it at level 10. I love my life. Everybody, we're going to do this 3 times on 3. Ready? Go. I love my life. Again. I love my life. Again. I love my life. Good. Everybody take a deep breath. I'm going to ask you to do one more thing. Turn to someone and look them in the eyes and say, I love you. Do that now. Great. And have a seat. How are you feeling right now? How's it feeling in this room? Now, how many people were thinking when you said to someone, I love you, that's not true? Well, here's what's true about the part of you that's committed to a 10. That part of you loves everyone. And the only reason it wouldn't is because it hasn't figured out how to survive, or rather how to thrive, when we say, I love you. We come at it from, I love you, I hope that's okay with you, instead of, I love you, and that's where I stand. Because every one of you stands there. Every one of you here wants to love people more and better. I am committed to seeing that 6 billion people know their heart virtue and have clarity and confidence about who they are and where they stand. And your heart virtue doesn't change from the day you're born till the day you die. It's like spiritual DNA, or it's like a blood type. You can rely on it. We used to think it would change, but it doesn't. So my clients, the people that have identified their heart virtues, many of them, it's just like you know it once, and for the rest of your life you can rely on this thing. It gives you tremendous peace of mind. And I would love to see that you have that clarity and confidence. I'm out of time. I was hoping to answer some questions, but I will be here to answer any, for those of you that do have questions. Kay and I, could you raise your hand? I'll be back there with Kay. And how many of you would like to have that clarity and confidence and know who you are and where you stand, be able to transition? How many? Come on, how many? Good. So then I'm going to recommend that you sign up to learn your heart virtue. Thank you for being here and for being so committed to your lives.